Hello and welcome to the Mad Knitting YouTube channel. This is episode 15. My name is Susan. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and it is April 1st, 2022. That means it's April Fool's Day. And I don't have any jokes for you, but we have snow on the ground, which feels like a big joke from the weather gods. I live and work in Madison, Wisconsin. That's where I'm coming to you from. And we woke up yesterday, the last day of March, with a winter weather advisory. The snow was coming down thick and fast, and the roads were kind of slippery, and it was a real way to end March. And it's still pretty cold outside, so there's still snow on the ground, and maybe I'll throw in a few seconds of footage here while I'm talking about it. I'm coming to you from my basement today because it is spring break for my kids. I have a 16-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter, so they are sleeping the morning away, which is what they have been doing all week. Quick side note here. It is spring break, but I've had to work. I've actually had a busy-ish week at work, at least for me. My husband has to work, so we didn't do anything fun for spring break. We didn't take any trips or make any special plans, and I'm feeling the mom guilt a little bit about that, because I know they're bored. They're tired of being at home. They can sleep in, so that's a plus. But yeah, I mean, they're teenagers, so they can entertain themselves, but I do feel a little bad that I didn't make any special plans or think ahead about this a little more. So, especially since the weather has been so shitty. Last weekend, it was really, really cold, and it stayed really cold, and then it poured rain all day Tuesday, and then it snowed yesterday. Maybe it was Wednesday, it was pouring rain. Anyway, I'm on social media a little bit. Obviously, you found me here. I am on Instagram as madtown_mama. I'm on Ravelry, if that's a site you can use, as madtownmama without the underscore. And I just joined the Making Co app. I have one project on there, which I will show you in a second. And I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to use it. But anyway, I'm Madtown Mama there as well. So if you want to find me there and look at my one project, then feel free. So one of the reasons I joined that one was because, I don't know, there was a lot of buzz. People seem to like it. But also Instagram has become much less pleasant lately. I think it's mostly has to do for me with the absolute inundation of videos, reels, and ads. I mean, the ads are nonstop. And I joined Instagram originally because I just wanted to share pictures and snippets of my life and things I'm making. And I've actually met a lot of people and made some friends there. Even people that I've never met outside of the online world, but it's not a place that I want to leave, but it's just increasingly annoying to be there. So I figured I would try a new platform and see how I like it. Sometimes I wonder if I'm too old for that. Anyway, I think I'll start with the quick sewing project, because that is the one thing that I shared on the Making app so far. This is something that I previewed a couple episodes ago because it is a project for my niece. It is a sewing project. This is the Geranium Dress by Ray Hoekstra. This is for my younger niece who is turning 4 at the end of May. I already made her another dress out of some different fabric that I showed on an earlier episode. For this one, I mean, there are all these different options with this pattern in terms of the neckline and how whether you add sleeves and the sort of the shoulder shape. I did exactly the same thing with this one as the last one. So the shoulders come down a little bit, kind of a cap sleeve situation. I chose to do pleats for the skirt. The other option is to gather. And then I have these light blue buttons that I had in my button box. I have a little bit of a button stash, so I try to use that whenever possible. This fabric, I don't know like who the maker company of the fabric is, but it's a lawn. So it's really, really light. In fact, I don't know if you can see, but it is so lightweight that she's only gonna be 4 little kids, but she'll probably have to wear a pair of shorts or leggings or something underneath so that it's not too see-through. But it is so lightweight. I expect that it will be very comfortable for summer. They live in Virginia, so it gets pretty hot and sticky there in the summer months. So I'm really looking forward to putting this package together and sending that to her. 2 dresses and some other things that I have plans for. Okay, when it comes to knitting, I only have one finished object for you to show. And it's one that I had in progress last time. This is the PokaPoka hat. It is from, I will show you the book it's from. It's from this book called Moon and Turtle by Sachiko and Kiyomi Bergen. They're twins and they designed a lot of wonderful things in this book. And the hat, it's double layer. So they call for some kind of fingering or sock weight yarn for 1 layer and a lace weight fuzzy mohair silk blend. I expect you could also use Surrey alpaca if you wanted, or anything. I used a mohair silk blend for the inside. And the idea is that you have this super warm, you can wear it either way you want, but you fold up the brim and you have this really soft, lightweight, but very warm hat. And because it's been so cold and because we had snow on the ground, I did wear this out yesterday on a walk, so I'll throw in a picture of that. Let me tell you about the yarn I used, which I've talked about before, but just to review, because I actually remembered labels for them. So for the outside, for that gray layer, I used West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite 4-ply. It is really, really nice. It's Falkland with a little bit of silk in it. So it's very soft and has drape, even though you knitted at a fairly tight gauge. And for the fuzzy layer, I used Knit Picks Aloft in the color Koi, which is that bright orange. It's like a perfect goldfish orange, which normally isn't a color I wear, but I really liked how it goes with the gray. I thought that was a really fun contrast. I don't know that's a great color for me to wear, but I don't care because the hat is really warm and soft and comfortable. The Aloft, I had used part of a skein already in a pair of mittens for myself, and I thought that the hat would be a perfect way to use the rest. Unfortunately, I ran out of that first skein when I was just like, I was in the decreases for the crown, so I was maybe this far from the end before I ran out, and I did have a second skein, so it's not like I was really in danger of not having enough yarn, but I was really hoping to have that perfect use up the last bit of the skein situation. Didn't work out that way, but that's okay. One note about this hat, I really enjoyed making it, and I will do it again. But something to keep in mind if you ever make one, the way you do it is you do a provisional cast on and knit, you know, 1 layer up to the crown, do the decreases, finish that off. Then you undo the provisional cast on, pick up those stitches, and do that second layer. So when I was doing the first layer, they have different sizes, but I was following the instructions for the longer cap size. There's like a beanie or a watch cap, I forget which is which, but anyway, I was following the instructions for the longer sizes, and I was trying it on as I went, and I thought, wow, this hat is really, really long. Like, even with a nice, generous folded up brim, it seemed like it was way too long. So rather than rip back, I actually decided to cut off part of what I had knit, because I can, you know, save the yarn. But I cut this much off. This is probably 1.5 inches, because I thought that brim would be way too long. And then I knit the, you know, the inside layer. You really have to be careful to make sure they are exactly the same length so that they fit nicely inside each other. But anyway, once it was done and I had all the ends woven in and I blocked it and everything and I put it on, I came to realize that I really wish I would not have cut off that extra length. I think, I'm not exactly sure, like I would like to fold this up more, but it doesn't come over my ears when I do that. And I think what happened is that because even though it's a very lightweight yarn, because you have the double layer, I think some of that length is just taken up with that extra thickness. So, you know, if you really want it long enough to come over your ears and have that nice folded brim, you really do need to make it longer than you initially, or than I initially thought I would have to. So I can still wear it. I still like it, but in the future I will use this as a reference and make sure that the next hat is about 1 inch longer so that I can fold up the brim just as comfortably as I wanted. But I'm happy with it. And I mean, I have so many hats, I didn't really need another one, but there you go. I don't have one like this, and now I do. And it matches my orange mittens, which are upstairs. But anyway, maybe I'll take a picture and throw that in, but it's kind of cool to have a matching set of sorts. I have 3 works in progress to show you. The first, I don't have much to say about because I've hardly done anything with it. The Paper Doll Sweater by Kate Davies. I did finish the body. It's obviously not blocked because you can see kind of how curly it is. My intention was to finish the body, wear this around a little bit and decide what length sleeves I want. And I haven't even done that. I did try it on to make sure that it fits and that I like the length, but it's been so cold. Like this is a light sweater, pretty lightweight sweater. This is Fingering Tweed by Sun Valley Yarns. And it's superwash, so it's not as good at trapping warm air as a non-superwash wool would be. And I don't know, for some reason I just haven't been super motivated to finish it or even decide how I want to finish it. So it's just been sitting there waiting for me to get my mojo on. I'd been hoping to finish it for a make-along of some sort. I've missed those deadlines, which is fine. One of them was the YARNIASCS Self-Indulgent Knit-Along, which I did finish several projects for, but not this one. That one ended on March 20, the first day of spring. And the other one would have been the Imagine Knitting Make-Along, which would have ended yesterday, the last day of March. So it didn't get done for that, and that's okay. But just to recap, the pattern is Paper Dolls. It's by Kate Davies. I've been wanting to make it for years. I had my doubts about the yarn choice, but I am actually pretty happy with it. I just, just got sidetracked, I guess, and it's been too cold to get too excited about wearing a lightweight sweater that may not even have long sleeves. So just to update you on that. Another work in progress I have I think I showed this last time. I had started a sock. Remember, it looks like Barbie had some, kind of looks like Barbie's Corvette exploded on a skein of yarn, which is again not my normal color choice, but I like to think outside the box, at least for myself, when it comes to sock yarn color choices. But this is, I don't have a label, but it is Plymouth Happy Feet Splash, and I think the color is Lipstick. And this is my portable knitting project. Now that the PokaPoka hat is done, this is the thing that I pick up and take along with me if I am sitting in a concert or something else, you know, away from home. So yesterday I participated in a group presentation for a conference that was in person in a different city, and while I was waiting for everybody else's presentation to finish so I could do my part, I was working on the sock. So I finished the cuff, which is 2x2 rib, and then for the main part of the sock, or the top part of the cuff is what I finished, and for this main part of the leg I decided to do a garter rib, which means that for one round you do knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and then for the next round you just knit all the way across. So you've got garter columns alternating with just these knit stitches. So it should help the sock fit rather snugly, but still have a little texture and interest going on. So I think I'll start the heels soon. And I don't know if I'll keep this or give it away. I finish socks sometimes and just put them in a pile and wait until there's an opportunity to give a gift, or until a pair of mine wears out and I'm ready for another pair to go in my sock drawer. So that's the story with that sock. The next work in progress is something I have not talked about plans for or mentioned before. And it's a big one. This is why I haven't really done much other knitting, or don't have much other knitting to show you for today. I decided that I wanted to make a man's sweater. I won't say here just yet who it's for, but I knew that I wanted it to be a nice shade of gray, kind of a heathered gray, and I knew that I wanted it to be a cardigan, and I really wanted a shawl collared cardigan. So I spent several weeks checking out different patterns and searching around and coming up with ideas, and I settled on a pattern that I already have in my vast collection. Some of the books behind me are my knitting books. A lot of this is old academic books that I've saved from grad school and stuff. But anyway, I've got a bunch of knitting patterns and things, and I actually decided to go with the pattern I already had instead of buying another one. So I am making the Jones sweater, the Jones cardigan by Tin Can Knits. And let me show you what I have so far. I have quite a lot. As you can see, it is large. This is for someone who is quite a bit taller than I am, someone who's larger than I am. And I've been working on it for exactly 2 weeks because I'm motivated to get it done. I have a deadline later this month. And I finished up the body this morning and did the 3 needle bind off for the shoulders. So it is bottom up. You cast on all the stitches to go around, and you knit all the way up to the armholes, and then you work the back and the fronts separately. And then when you get to the shoulders, you put all those stitches on hold and then do a 3 needle bind off, which is a nice sturdy seam basically. So on the inside, you get this ridge, and then on the outside, everything lines up. I mean, you can see that there's a seam, but all the stitches line up because you've been binding them off together. So let's see, what should I say about this pattern? I'm enjoying it so far. So as you can see, it's a very intuitive pattern. I didn't really have to follow the instructions until I got to the chart. Like I didn't have to follow anything too closely until I got to, you know, where you have to bind off and do some decreases for the neck and stuff. But for the main portion of it, you're alternating moss stitch with this cable pattern. So you've got these panels of moss stitch alternating with cables, and it's really pretty easy to remember. And I think even though this is a fairly large size, one of the reasons it went so quickly for me is that it was very intuitive. I could follow it very easily. So I would just pick it up in the morning when I wake up early and knit. I would pick it up in the evening when I'm watching TV with my daughter. So yeah, the other thing is that it is written for DK weight yarn, but I'm doing it in a worsted weight. I want to show you the pattern picture. Good grief, have it open. Okay, here we go. So that's the pattern picture. You can see it's just a very sophisticated sweater for all ages and all sizes. This is a feature of Tin Can Knits patterns. They write them for tiny baby up through usually about a 60-inch chest or larger. This goes up to a 58-inch chest, but they have a pretty good range of sizes. But anyway, it's written for a DK weight yarn. I am using a worsted weight yarn. So I did a little math to figure out how to make that work because my gauge is different from the pattern. But anyway, I didn't have to cast on as many stitches for the size I need as if I was using a DK weight yarn. So basically what I did, I knit a gauge swatch. I figured out how many inches around I want the finished sweater to be. And from my gauge swatch, I then calculated how many stitches I would need to get to that final measurement. And then I picked the size in the instructions that had a cast on number closest to what I needed to match that measurement. So I'm following the numbers for a few sizes smaller, but the measurements for the size that I want. I hope that made sense. And I'm an experienced enough knitter that I know how to figure this out. And the other thing is that it's not a very complicated construction method, and there's not a lot of shaping. So, yeah, like it's just straight up to the armhole. So I just made that to the length that I wanted. I cast off a few stitches for the armhole and then again followed the measurements for the armhole depth. And then I'll have to do the same thing for the sleeves, but you pick up the sleeves and knit them out. So it's really pretty straightforward. So just a tip, if your gauge is a little different than a pattern says, and they have a whole lot of sizes to choose from, and you don't have a really complex construction method, you can usually figure out how to make it work by just picking the size closest to the number of cast on stitches you would need to get to that final size measurement. So I hope that made sense. If you have questions or if that was too confusing, you can always drop a comment and let me know. Anyway, the Jones pattern is from this book by Tin Can. It's called Great White North. And there are a lot of really lovely patterns in here. A lot of them I would like to make. I would love to make this cover pattern. In fact, I have plans to make, I think it's called Snowflake. Make this sweater. I love that lace yoke pattern and the buttons going down, and I have plans to make that for one of my nieces. There's also I won't show you everything because that would get boring. There's some ornaments in here. I think the idea is that it's like holiday time. Where are the ornaments that I really like? Yeah, this is called Freeze. I'll cover the chart, but it's a snowflake. Like a lace snowflake that every year I think, oh, I should make some of those for the Christmas tree. Still haven't done it. The Winterberry blanket is a really lovely baby blanket. It would be a lovely gift. So anyway, and all these patterns, the garment patterns, you know, the sweaters, the hats, the mittens, there's those things in there too. They all come in sizes that would fit just about everybody. So thumbs up to Tin Can Knits. By the way, I obviously ordered the print copy of this book, and I several years ago took it to Kinko's and had them cut off the binding and put in this spiral bound so that it would stay open. You have to be careful that you don't ruin the edges of the pages then, but I find it a lot easier to use the book because I'm not smashing it open. So little tip in case you have hardbound pattern books or hard copies of pattern books that won't stay open. If you don't mind that little bit of surgery, you can have that done. All right. I don't normally talk about future project plans very often because you may have noticed if you've watched previous episodes that I will sometimes riff on what I'm planning to make and then I don't get around to it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I sort of feel like if I say what I'm gonna make, like it's like making a promise I can't keep or something, and I don't like to do that. So normally I don't talk too much about that. But I will share the niece whose birthday is coming in May, for whom I made this little dress. I do have plans to make her a toy, which I'll talk about when I start it. But I also thought it would be nice to make her a little sweater. This is a cute story. Her older sister just turned 6 a couple of weeks ago, and I sent her a little dress and a cardigan that I had made. I shared all that, I think, in the previous episode. Well, when she got the package, there were several things to open in there, and the older sister let the younger sister open one of the presents inside, and it was the sweater. And the younger sister somehow thought that the sweater belonged to her and was a little bit upset. She got over it quickly. She was a little bit upset when she said, "I love my new sweater," and then her dad had to correct her and say, "That's not your sweater, that's your sister's sweater." So when he told me that story, I thought, well, okay, I absolutely have to make a little sweater to go along with the other things I'm sending her. So because her birthday is at the end of May and it's, you know, basically the start of the summer season, I thought I would make a little cotton cardigan. And it so happened that Webb's had like an extra discount on some of their sales stuff. So I ordered 2 skeins of CLOUDBORN PIMA Cotton DK. The color is called, oh, there's just a number. It's kind of a lilac color. It's showing up like gray on the camera here, but it's kind of a dusty, maybe if I hold it here, it'll show it better. No, that's no better. It's kind of a dusty purple, a little dustier than I was hoping for. I was hoping it would be a little more purple, but that's okay. I think I don't always have to use bright pastels and jewel colors for those little girls. But anyway, I think what I'm gonna make is a Juliet cardigan. That's a pattern by Danny Sunshine. Oh, this color is Thistle. Yeah, the colorway is Thistle. Anyway, so I'm going to make a Juliet cardigan. I'll throw a picture in here so you can see like from the pattern, but it's a button down. It has a simple kind of is it like heart-shaped sort of lace panels down the front. I think it should go pretty quick. And I only have 2 skeins, so if I'm running short on yarn, I'll just make it short sleeved because this is cotton anyway. Cotton's not my favorite thing to knit with, but I think it'll be nice and lightweight for summer. So the idea is I was kind of hoping that it would go with the dress that I made. And it really doesn't terribly well. Like the dress, the colors in the dress are a little bit brighter than the yarn I got, but how often do little kids match anyway? Not very often. They just sort of throw on whatever they feel like. So anyway, so that's my plan. I think that'll go pretty quick, and I'm looking forward to making something nice and small that will go lickety-split and a whole lot more quickly than this giant gray cardigan for a very tall person. All right, I've been going for a little more than a half hour, so if you're done watching, that's fine. But I thought I would share just a little bit about some sewing that I have done in the past for needle storage. Because I sew, even though it's intermittent, but because I can sew and I have fabric and I have these skills, I never buy needle cases or project bags. I just make all those myself. So I thought I would share some of the needle cases that I have made because I've learned some things along the way, and I just thought, heck, this will be something I can talk about. So I have a whole stack of them. Like, I got out every single needle case I've made. And I will not go over them all in painstaking detail, but I did want to show some of them. This first one is something I made maybe 20 years ago. This is the first needle case I ever made. It's just quilting cotton that my mom let me take from her stash. She has an epic stash. And I made it for double pointed needles because I had learned to knit socks and from my friend, and I was off to the races, and I decided to make a little roll-up needle case. So all I did was cut a rectangle. I made a flap. I stitched down for pockets for the needles. I made them increasingly wider so you can see it goes from, you know, skinny sizes like 0s and 1s, and then there's a little more room to accommodate as you get up to 6, 7, and 8. It's really floppy, but it rolls up, and I suppose I could always tie something around it to hold it together, but I usually don't, or I never have. So this is the first needle case I made. Yeah, so I'll always use it because it's the first one. It was easy. It took me like an hour maybe. So since then, I have made others. I have a lot of needles. I use exclusively DPNs and fixed circulars. I have gotten interchangeable sets in the past, and I don't really like them. I don't know why. I just prefer using fixed circular needles. I'd rather, you know, knit onto another needle than have to unscrew the one and, you know, change the tip. So anyway, so I have quite a collection that has built up of different sizes, different lengths, different materials. I use all of them, honestly. And I've made several cases for them. So one that I made several years ago, actually have two that are exactly the same. I'm not sure why I did that. But this is some kind of linen, oops, I dropped one. This is some kind of linen blend, this sort of purplish color that I got from Joann's. And I liked this batik quilting cotton to go with it. So I used it to make the ties. So let me back up. this one has, it's kind of heavy, 3 layers of pockets. And by the time I made this one, I sort of wised up and realized that I needed like this center part. It's not actually a pocket for needles, it's allowing for the extra bulk for when you fold it up, kind of like the spine of a book. Because with 3 layers of pockets, you can get a lot of needles in there. So it's pretty thick, and I put like binding all the way around, and I have this like flap at the top, supposedly to help keep things in place, but I think it kind of makes the edge a little neater. And then I figured out exactly how it would fold up, and I added these ties so that when you fold it up, you can tie it shut and you have kind of a nice little book like that. So I like this basic design. I like having several layers of pockets. I like having it so you can fold it up and tie it shut. And it looks like I hand stitched the binding down like you would a quilt. So I've got a couple of these, and I have a lot of needles in them, and they work really well. But it wasn't enough. I did a similar one, and this is just for some wooden needles I have, but I used a thicker, this is like a canvas for the outside, and then for the inside I have 2 layers of pockets in contrasting quilting cotton, and it feels like I used some interfacing here too to kind of keep it stiff. But again, you can see there's that middle pocket. Can I show you? Yeah, it's not a pocket, but that middle section, so that when you fold it up like that, I had to like calculate exactly how this was going to work so that I could get the ties in the right place, and of course I'm not doing it very well now. That it would sort of hold together. And for this one, as you can see, I did a nice flap too, to keep the needles in, so that if I was carrying it around and it got tipped over, the needles wouldn't all just slide out. So that is basically how I design my needle cases. I wanted to show you one fail, which I was really disappointed in because I liked the fabric so much. But a couple years ago, I decided to make another needle case for those for some of the needles that I really liked. And I had found this fabric with sweaters on it. It might be cotton and steel, I don't remember. And I loved it. I thought, oh, this will be so great for a needle case. And I just picked up a fat quarter at the quilt shop. But I don't know what came over me. I think I put fusible fleece in here, and I'm not sure why I thought that would be an appropriate choice for interfacing or a stabilizer, because it's just really thick and bulky. So again, I allowed enough height on it to fold over. And again, I have 2 layers of pockets, but when you put needles in and then you fold it over and you fold it shut, like there's not even needles in this because I'm not using it. It's just like really thick and bulky. I haven't thrown it out because I kind of can't bring myself to, but I don't use it because it's just there's just too much. I think interfacing is good because it gives a little bit of structure to the fabric, so it's not too floppy, but it's best to use not fusible fleece, something with structure, but that's nice and thin. So you learn as you go, right? Last example is a case I made for sock needles. So this is similar to that first roll-up case I showed you, but this is a little more sturdy. So I did interface this, and I used this really cool canvas print for the outside, some quilting cotton for the inside. This just has one layer of pockets because those DPNs are so, there's so much volume there. With circular needles, you've got the cable that keeps it from getting too thick. Anyway, so I have a flap. I actually cut, you know, it's not perfectly straight. I cut in a little bit so it wouldn't stick out too much. And it folds into thirds. Whoops. But I sewed the tie on so that when you fold it into thirds, it comes perfectly to the edge, and then you can tie it up. And it's a nice snug needle case for my DPNs, which I take around for socks and fine gauge mittens and things like that. So anyway, I don't know if that was interesting or not, but if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I think that's all I have today. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.